Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jen and today I'm going to be going over my favorite books of 2023. Now, I didn't have the best reading year in 2023. I did have 11 5-star books, but I don't know. Some of them are from the same series, so I didn't have 10 individual things to go over. So basically I went to my shelves and I picked out all of my favorite books from 2023, even if I didn't give them 5 stars. And so today I'm going to go over those with you. And I don't know, I just have a pile of them right here. They're not really in any order, so I'm just going to go through them. None of these, I don't know that I have a favorite book of last year. This is a problem. As we go through these, I will kind of mentally start thinking about this a little more, and hopefully by the end of this video, we will have a best book, a one best book of 2023. So stick around and see what that may be. All right, as I said, I'm just going to go through this pile, and the first thing on top of the pile is Ever After Always by Chloe Liese. I will just say that I read 4 Chloe Liese books last year. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yes, 4 Chloe Liese books last year. All are amazing. I recommend Chloe Liese to quite literally everyone. She is absolutely a go-to author for me. But I think this was the first one I read in 2023, and was the first one I gave 5 stars, and that is Ever After Always. The Bergman Brothers series actually follows the 7 Bergman siblings as they find love, and this one follows Aiden and Freya, who are already married, but are kind of going through a hard time. I think this starts out with them actually living, I think, separately, and then going on a trip with their family and kind of reuniting while on that trip as they're kind of pretending that everything's okay. So Chloe Liese has this really great ability to include a lot of different representation in her books. So this book includes characters with high anxiety. It includes, I believe, some, what's the word I'm looking for? Fertility issues. I know my words. We've got characters with different body sizes. And they're just in general, these books have such a great cast of characters. All of the Bergman siblings and their parents are included in quite literally every book. And it's really interesting how the siblings and some of their significant others that have already had, this is the 3rd book in the series, all kind of rally around both of them and are supportive of both of them as they try to figure out how to save their marriage. Marriage and crisis trope isn't usually my thing, but I really enjoyed it in this, and Chloe Liese just knows how to pull at you. So all you are doing this entire book is rooting for both of them and rooting for both of them to come together in a way that will give you the happily ever after that you're looking for. So Ever After Always was definitely a 5-star for 2023, and honestly, if you haven't read Chloe Liese, I strongly suggest it. Her books are currently getting re-released by Berkley, and the covers are fantastic. Next, we have The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. This one I read in 2023 as part of a football romance vlog that I thought would be interesting to do around the Super Bowl. I am not doing that this year. I'm just rereading this because it was so good that I really need to just read it again. This is an incredibly slow burn romance between, I can never remember her name, Vanessa. Vanessa is the personal assistant to Aiden Graves, this Canadian playing American football, and he's like this big grump, but he's kind of not the best employer. So after so long, Vanessa decides that she's going to quit. So she quits, and a couple of days later, Aiden shows up at her door and basically says, I need you to come back and work for me. Better yet, marry me because I need my green card to stay in the country. Did I mention that he was Canadian? Yes, I did. Anyway, and that is then their marriage of convenience ensues. I loved this book. It was everything I wanted it to be and was not expecting. I think the slow burn of it was just so absolutely wonderful. And I know a lot of people get really grumpy about contemporary romance being chunky. This book needed to be this long because these two went from employee-employer barely liking each other to being in love, and there's a lot in the middle there that you need to go through, and I think you needed every single page in here to do it. So I have yet to read any more Mariana Zapata. I've owned a couple over there, but so much of this book, I love this book. I am excited to reread it. You're probably gonna hear me say that a lot today, because one of the things that happens as we bring this up is that I realize that I love these books and I want to reread them, even though I'm trying to get books off of my shelf. Anyway, that's The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. The next one we have is The Fae Princes by Nikki St. Croix. This is the last book in the Lost Boys. It's called The Lost Vicious. What is it called? It is The Vicious Lost Boys. The first book in the series is The Never King, which is this is a Peter Pan Why Choose. Peter Pan retelling Why Choose between Winnie, who is a descendant of Wendy. Every generation on the 18th birthday of these women, they are kidnapped by Peter Pan and brought to Neverland. And they usually don't return mentally sound. But Winnie is determined to break kind of the cycle here, and what ends up happening is this really awesome reverse harem between Winnie, Peter, and 3 other Lost Boys. So I fucking love this series like a lot. I really, really, really love this series. I love that it's short, and I just love the characters. We all know that found family, I don't know if you don't, but here you're about to learn, found family is my absolute favorite trope, like my number one. Like nothing else could possibly, if something has found family in it, it is an automatic, let me at least try it. Unless there's something else that's like a definite no. But either way, this was the last book. I really enjoyed this one. This one was really interesting because I thought that there was a lot more of the fantasy element brought into it compared to the other ones, which were a little more heavier on the romances. But this one had a lot more, a little bit of backstory about the Fae Princes and the kind of world that they're in, and really was interesting, really great. These are books I can actually go to time and time again. I do love rereading them. It's just a really fun world to get into, and some good smut too. So that brings, I think I gave this one 4 stars, but I think I gave the second book in the series 5 stars at one point. So I highly recommend these books. I've given them nothing less than 4 stars. If you did watch any of my videos last year, you will know that this book shocked me. It was probably one of the first books I read last year and was a 5-star read. And that is Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. I am also need to reread this one, like desperately. So in the past, I've actually read 2 other books by Tessa Bailey and did not enjoy them at all. But I had owned this one. I was like, I'm going to finish the series. I'm just going to get it done. And I ended up falling absolutely madly in love with this, and it is now, it's such a good book. Hook, Line, and Sinker is the sequel to What Happened One Summer that follows Piper, who is basically a party girl, and she gets sent to this small fishing town as kind of a way to kind of learn how to be better, kind of get more in touch with reality. And Hannah, her sister, goes there with her occasionally, and while she's there, she befriends Fox, who is the best friend of the hero from the first book. And Fox is, I think the term is just a fuckboy. And I love a reform horn dog. And when Fox and Hannah meet, they decide to keep things platonic. And so between It Happens One Summer and this book, Fox and Hannah have been basically best friends, constantly in communication. So when Hannah comes back to this small fishing town to film a movie, she ends up staying with Fox, and they kind of have to navigate their relationship now that they are together, living in the same house, and they're having they each have attraction to the other, but they're trying not to destroy their friendship. And it just turned into this wonderful thing. It's a little bit angsty, which is another one of my favorite words when describing a book. Another one of the things that I absolutely adore are heroes who don't believe that they deserve love. Fox is one of those characters. He does not believe that he is worthy, that he's worth the time, that he's screwed up so much in the past, and that he's not going to amount to anything, both in a relationship, in his job, and else, anywhere. And Hannah kind of gets to prove to him that he is, and it is so good. I haven't read anything else by Tessa Bailey yet, but do we just leave? I'm just trying to, do I just leave it here? Do I just say this is where it ends? We just leave it with a perfect book and move on. But this was probably one of the first or second books I read in 2023, and it's still, I need to reread this. Next we have a 4-star book, but it's Sierra Simone, so like, it's great. And that is Salt Kiss. This is the first book in the Lioness trilogy, which is a sort of spin-off of, it's in the same world as the New Camelot trilogy, which is probably one of my all-time favorite trilogies. This one starts with Mark, who is the owner, I have to remember what this is, who's the owner of the Lioness, which is like a super high elite kink club in DC. And he is in need of a bodyguard, so he hires his sister's husband's nephew. It got really weird when he was like, you're my uncle-in-law, and I was like, this is weird. But basically he hires Tristan, and Tristan is not familiar with the type of clientele that Mark has at his club, and while Tristan is kind of going through orientation, he and Mark also kind of embark on a physical relationship that Tristan starts to include feelings. Mark, on the other hand, we find out actually in the prequel novella that goes along with this, is actually engaged to be married to a woman named Isolde, who is basically being forced to marry Mark as some kind of, I forgot what the agreement is, but at the but Mark sends Tristan to go get Isolde for their wedding, and Isolde and Tristan also start to develop feelings for each other because Mark is so cut off and unfeeling and just kind of, is there a good word for this? I don't know. Very powerful. So things go his way. He's a rich man. Now that they're all back, I think this brings them back together. There was a cliffhanger in this, but I couldn't tell you what it is at the moment. But I love all Sierra Simone books. I've never met one I did not enjoy. Doing better than I thought I would in terms of remembering what the plots of some of these are, because it's been a minute for some of these. Next we have Twisted Hate by Ana Huang. This is the third book in the Twisted series. I did read books 2 and 3 and 4 in 2023, but this is by far my favorite of the entire series. Twisted Hate follows Josh and Jules. Josh is the brother of the heroine from the first book. Jules is that heroine's best friend, and they absolutely hate each other. This is probably as close to enemies to lovers as you can actually get in contemporary, but they're both very busy professionals. Jules is working on passing the bar, and Josh is in his residency, so they don't have a lot of time, and one thing leads to another, and they end up in an enemies to benefits relationship, is what it says on the back. Basically, they're just relieving some tension with each other, even though they do not like each other. And then they end up liking each other. Quite a bit, actually. I like the last piece on the back cover. It says, theirs is a match made in hell. And when the demons from their past catch up with them, they're faced with the truths that either save them or destroy everything they've worked for. There's again, I can't even remember specifics at the moment, but like there's some stuff from Jules' past that comes up, and it really makes everything dramatic. All of Ana Huang's books are a little dark, not dark romance. I mean, a little bit, but a little suspensey. So I absolutely loved this. And this is by far my favorite in the series. I did give this 4 stars. Okay, aside from the Nikki St. Croix, I actually accidentally split this up into contemporaries and fantasies, because what I have left are 3 fantasy romances that I absolutely loved, and most of these the whole world has loved too. Next we have Serpents in the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This is the first book in the Crowns of Naxia series. I think that's the big series, and there's like little series or duologies inside each of them. But I read both Serpents and the Serpent in the Wings of Night and something about the Star-Cursed King, Ashes of the Star-Cursed King in 2023. I actually gave this 4 stars and Ashes 5. I absolutely adored these. This follows Aurea, who is the adoptive daughter of the Nightborn Vampire King, and in order to get a wish, basically get a wish from the goddess to bond herself and become more, it's not really her power, but she wants to like have some of that immortality because she is in a world of vampires. So it is about power. Hindsight, y'all. She wants to bond herself to her father in order to get more power and to maybe live a little longer. And in order to do that, she has to compete in the Kajari, which is a competition. It's a tournament with other vampires. And then she meets Rain, who is a very reluctant ally. And then it kind of goes through all of those trials into the twists and turns. So absolutely loved this. I really enjoyed the tournament style thing, a little Hunger Games, you know, and I do love all of the characters that Araya is like kind of close to. So both Rain and there's another woman, I don't remember her name, but I adore her. I really liked the world. I'm beginning to really appreciate the vampire in a fantasy setting. As someone who grew up reading a lot of paranormal romance and urban fantasy, I really kind of enjoy this new spin on it. Really enjoyed this. I did read both of these. I am working my way through the rest of the books that Krista Broadbent has published, and will hopefully be, well, whenever the next book in this world comes out, I will definitely be reading it. Next, we have a book that everyone's read and the dust jacket I can't find, and that is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I read both this and Iron Flame. I gave them both 5 stars. If you don't know what this book is about at this point, I don't even have the dust jacket to remind myself, but it's basically about a girl ends up at a school and ends up in the kind of section that is trained to be dragon riders. But she's spent her entire life basically training to be a scribe. She has been training her entire life to be a scribe. So she's basically thrown into this without all the skills that everyone else basically has. And this is a situation where you can die at any time. You can be killed at any time. While these are not the same book in the slightest, from both, I really appreciate the fact that there was this kind of like always a sense of urgency because even when the trials weren't happening, you could be killed, except for like certain times you can be murdered and not make it to the next tournament. And here you could be hurt or killed by a dragon. You can get hurt and killed by other students. And there's obviously a lot of politics and other things going on in here that constantly put tension on what is going on, which I really, really, really enjoyed. I am a Xaden fan, and I think he also falls into this. I think actually both of these plus Fox, which is a very different character, have that little bit of that I'm not worthy of this person, and I really enjoy that. That is honestly a thing that I enjoy quite a bit. So that was that was Fourth Wing. I have one more book, and honestly, I think I accidentally made it my favorite. Now that I'm going through this, I think about kind of the lasting effects of the books. So obviously, I still think about the Mariana Zapata book. I want to reread it. I think about Hook, Line, and Sinker. I want to reread it. I could honestly reread any of these. But the ones that have taken over my life the most, books. I have one, but there's 3. The ones that have taken over my world and kind of consumed my thoughts. And it was like the thing that I thought about when I wasn't reading. And I was thinking about theories and about what might happen. And the one that made my brain work the most is honestly the one I was not expecting to be, but I'm going to claim this as my best books of 2023. And we're going to start with Bonded by Thorns by Elizabeth Helen. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, reverse harem fantasy romance that owns my soul at the moment. Completely owns my soul. Let me see if I can properly now explain what's going on in this book. So this follows Rose, and Rose lives in a small northwestern town, I believe, working in a bookstore in a town that basically is mean to her. In a town that basically ostracizes her. They look down upon her because her father is out there, is constantly traveling, looking for his wife who disappeared, who he claims was stolen by fairies. So everyone thinks he's the town crazy guy, and by association, Rose is treated similarly. In the past, she's had some very poor relationships. Basically, you know, at 20, I think she's like 27, mid 20s. And basically everyone has gone on with their lives, but Rose is stuck here because she has been dealing with her father is maybe the wrong word, but she's been kind of stuck here because of her father. And obviously her mother is no longer with her. So one night she gets word that her father is in trouble, and she rushes out to save him and goes through this thorn bush and ends up in a completely different world filled with ogres and all sorts of other creatures. And she ends up in this predicament only to end up at this castle. And at this castle, she finds her father, who has been taken prisoner by one of the lords of the castle for attempting to steal. And as a Beauty and the Beast retelling does, she bargains with this man only to let her father go, and that means she has to stay. What she soon realizes is that she's not quite a prisoner. Like, she's not stuck in a well, not for long, in a cell. And the 4 men that occupy the castle are actually Fey princes who have been cursed to turn into wolves at night, except for on the full moon. She eventually bargains with the head, what is his name? I know what his name is. What is his title? She bargains with one of the Fae. So the curse is that each of these Fae princes need to find their mate in order to break the curse. And Rose, I'm concerned that I said Feyre because I've been reading ACOTAR. But Rose bargains with Kildarian, one of the head Fae prince, and says, if I can figure out how to break your curses, you will let me go. And that kind of embarks on this whole thing with 4 of the most wonderful and challenging Fae princes. There is 1 prince for every season, and they're all basically stuck living in this tree that is also occupied by thorns, and the magic is being sucked. There's a lot going on. But these 4 characters have somehow taken over my entire life. Like, I would die for Dayton. And I have the first 3 books are out. I have read all 3. I fucking love them. And I'm upset that I have to wait till September for the next book, because book 4 ended on a major cliffhanger. I understand that some of it's a little fanficky and it's a little bit dramatic, but I do not care. Like, some of this is over the top, and sometimes the writing's just a little, but not always. Sometimes the writing's just a little fanficky. But as someone who basically grew up reading fanfiction, it does not bother me in the slightest. So if you're gonna pick this up, I would recommend giving this probably about, it's like the first, if you get to the first 100 pages, like it gets much better. And I honestly do see these progressing as they go along, where everything's just a little less, it's still as dramatic as ever. And I absolutely adore that. I love these books. They do consume me. I think about them constantly. I think about them all the time. And I will say that because of that, I gave this one 4 stars. I gave the books 2 and 3, which are Woven by Gold and Forged by Malice, both 5 stars. I think once you get into a series that has the same characters, you can kind of just sink down in there, and everything just becomes a little bit better just because you're so familiar and you're so in love with all of these characters, and you want them all to just be safe and nestled in their beds when they're not. So, and I think the fantasy, like the plot and the big bad, is really kind of shaping up in a really nice way. That I'm really this is a 7-book series, so there's 3 more. There are 4 more books after this, so I'm really excited to see where this goes, and watching all of these princes I think there's so much in this book that I personally love that it just is perfect for me. Honestly, when I picked this up, I picked it up because I said I need a fantasy romance series that I can get excited about releases for, and I was not expecting it at this level, but here we are. This is the epitome of everything that I love. It has found family. It has a few characters who don't believe that they're worthy of anything, including love. We've got the icy dude and the mysterious one and the bad boy, and it has everything that I want. So this series, this Beast of the Briar series, is my favorite of 2023. That was a journey, because I wasn't really sure where we were going and what we were doing, but we got there. So if you've made it this far in the video, I appreciate you. Please comment down below and let me know what your favorite book of 2023 was, so I can add it to my list for 2024. Please give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.